The green hills of Kikuyu land stretched far into the distance, covered with tall grass that danced gently in the wind. Small huts with round mud walls and thatched roofs stood together in a peaceful village. In the center of the village grew a great magumo tree, older than anyone could remember. Its wide branches spread across the sky, and beneath it the elders gathered to speak about the matters of the village. In this village lived a young woman named Wanjiru, the daughter of Mzee Mwangi, the most respected elder in the community. Wanjiru was known for her kindness and her quiet strength. When she walked through the village, the bright bead necklaces around her neck shimmered in the sunlight. Women often admired the beautiful cloth she wore, wrapped carefully around her shoulders in the traditional Kikuyu style. But Wanjiru carried a secret sadness in her heart. Her father had already chosen the man she would marry. The decision had been made long ago. The man was a strong warrior from a wealthy family, and the marriage would bring honor and strong alliances to the village. For Mzee Mwangi, the word of the elders and the weight of tradition were more important than anything else. Yet Wanjiru's heart had already chosen someone else. Beyond the village fields and grazing land lived a young cattle herder named Kamau. Every morning he led his herd across the green hills, holding a wooden staff and wearing a simple cloak over his shoulders. Kamau was hardworking and calm, with eyes that reflected honesty and courage. But Kamau's family carried a shadow from the past. Many years before, a conflict had divided his family and the family of Mzee Mwangi. No one in the village spoke openly about it anymore, but the bitterness still remained. Because of that old quarrel, the two families kept their distance from each other. Still, fate has its own path. One afternoon, as the sun slowly lowered over the hills, Wanjiru walked toward the river carrying a clay pot to collect water. The narrow path carved between tall grasses and smooth stones. As she reached the river bank, she saw Kamau guiding his cattle nearby. For a moment they simply looked at one another. Kamau greeted her politely, and Wanjiru answered with a small smile. Their voices were quiet, but something warm and gentle passed between them that neither could fully explain. After that day, they began to meet often. Sometimes they spoke near the river while Kamau's cattle drank from the water. Other times they walked along the edges of the grazing fields where the tall grass hid them from the eyes of the village. But their favorite place was beneath the great magumo tree on the edge of the hills. There, under its wide branches, they shared stories and dreams. Kamau spoke about building a home of his own one day. Wanjiru spoke about wanting a life where her heart could be free. Their friendship slowly grew into love. Yet they both understood the danger. If the elders discovered their secret, the consequences would be serious. Tradition was not something the village took lightly. One quiet evening, the sky was painted with deep orange light as the sun disappeared behind the hills. Wanjiru and Kamau sat beneath the magumo tree, listening to the wind moving softly through the leaves. "I cannot marry the man my father has chosen," Wanjiru said, her voice barely above a whisper. Kamau looked at her with worry. "If your father learns about us, he will never allow it." Wanjiru reached for his hand. "My heart has already chosen," she said. Not far away, hidden behind thick bushes, someone else had seen everything. Nyambura, Wanjiru's cousin, had quietly followed her that evening. Nyambura had always envied the attention Wanjiru received in the village. When she saw Wanjiru sitting beside Kamau and holding his hand, jealousy filled her heart like a dark storm. By the next morning, the secret had spread across the village. The elders gathered beneath the sacred magumo tree. Villagers stood around in silence, watching as Mzee Mwangi stepped forward with his walking staff in hand. His face was heavy with anger and disappointment. Soon Wanjiru and Kamau were brought before the gathering. The entire village watched as the two young lovers stood together beneath the wide branches of the ancient tree. Mzee Mwangi's voice was firm and powerful. "Is it true that you have been meeting this young man in secret?" he asked his daughter. For a moment, Wanjiru felt the weight of every eye upon her. Fear pressed heavily against her chest, but she refused to lower her head. "Yes, father," she answered quietly. A wave of mamas moved through the villagers. Mzee Mwangi turned toward Kamau with sharp eyes. "Our families have not stood together for many years," he said. "Do you think love can erase the past?" Kamau stepped forward slowly, holding his staff firmly in his hands. "I do not wish to bring shame to this village," he said with respect. "But I love Wanjiru, and my heart is honest." The elders spoke among themselves in low voices. Some were angry that the rules had been broken. Others looked thoughtfully at the two young people standing before them. The wind rustled through the leaves of the great magumo tree above their heads. Finally, the oldest elder rose slowly from his seat. His hair was white with age, and his voice was calm but strong. "Tradition guides our people," he said. "But wisdom must also guide our traditions." The villagers waited silently. The decision of the elders would shape the future of everyone in the village. Some say the elders saw the courage in Wanjiru and Kamau and allowed their love to heal the old division between the families. Others say the two lovers chose to leave the village together and begin a new life beyond the hills where no one could stand between them. But the story of Wanjiru and Kamau did not disappear. Even today, when the wind moves through the branches of the great magumo tree in the Kikuyu hills, people remember the two young hearts who dared to love despite the weight of tradition. And they remember that sometimes the strongest force in the world is not tradition, nor fear, nor the past. Sometimes, it is simply love.